which is crazy, right? I mean, you've got all kinds of stuff going on. Meanwhile, the president also saying today that, this affordability crisis might just be a bunch of nonsense. That, if you look at inflation, for goodness sakes, it's not what it was. It's actually come back into check. And so, yes, he wants the Fed to move on interest rates, et cetera. But in terms of the actual affordability and inflation levels, maybe that's just a pipe dream to nowhere. I will tell you, it may be a pipe dream to nowhere on some things, and we'll look at some inflation numbers. But when it comes to drug prices, for goodness sakes, I mean, when it comes to healthcare, I know, it's out of control. Right? Because Big Pharma is always got its hand out. Big Pharma wants it all. And you look at the increase in drug prices and it tells the entire story. So, whether there's an affordability crisis, we'll talk about that in just a moment, because there's a lot of things you can get cheaper in the USA than you ever could before. And we kind of, we have a lot of cheap stuff from China, shall we say. We could use a little less cheap stuff from China. But I'll tell you what we don't need: higher costs for drug prices. You got Big Pharma out there. They got a huge lobby, right? Army of lobbyists that are working overtime to keep Americans paying the highest prescription drug prices in the world. They've already hiked prices on hundreds of medicines this year, while flooding us with billions of dollars worth of misleading ads. They loved it. I don't know what the nightly news is going to do if these guys aren't advertising on their shows, for goodness sakes, because there's so many things that, you never thought you needed, never thought you had, that they're trying to target you for. So I'll tell you, Big Pharma is a problem. They're pushing their agenda. And while, I get it, you have protection of speech, whatever, I would say it's gotten a little bit out of control. Just a little teeny tiny bit out of control. Their goal in Washington, as you know, is pretty simple: escape accountability, block free market competition, and jack up outrageous prices. More profits for them, more government intrusion for you, higher costs for you, your family, for small businesses. And this is why I've teamed with conservatives for lower healthcare costs to warn everyone about the Big Pharma agenda and what it's going to mean for Americans and employers with billions in higher premiums and drug costs. This is serious. You know that the president's not going to back down on this. His administration is cracking down on drug companies that gouge Americans and mislead patients with all their obnoxious advertising. Meanwhile, conservatives in Congress are introducing reforms to stop Big Pharma's games that block generics and keep prices so high. So join us here in rejecting Big Pharma's agenda. Go over and visit, I think I put it on the screen for you, pharmawindfall.com. Help us in terms of lowering drug prices, right? I'm so proud to partner with these guys on this effort, because this is important stuff. One of our great advertisers, conservatives for lower healthcare costs, pharmawindfall.com. So this issue of